And that's the trend nowadays, and I think most people are starting to shift towards that. They want to have a life that's more flexible on their terms. And when it comes to places like Mexico or other places in Latin America, you know, record high of people from the US and Canada, because, you consider, when you have to, and I'm not exaggerating when I say this, but when you have to pay, almost $9 for a gallon of milk. Now, in Mexico, you can get something like that for $4.50, a gallon of milk. Uh, but when you have to pay almost $9 for a gallon of milk, um, you know, these are things to consider uh, if you want to continue with such a lifestyle in the USA. Some people are moving to other states. Some people moving to Texas and Florida and in other less popular states, less populated states too. And for some, for some people, um, uh, it might work well. You have to decide, what is best for your particular situation. African Dreamer said hello. Okay. Hello, African Dreaming. Yeah. So I interviewed African Dreaming recently. I recommend that you check that video out. This is an expat couple that lives in Africa. You know, Interesting interview. Definitely recommend you check that out. And we have another question here. So, African Dreamer said, "Is the expat community as expansive there as it is here on the continent?" So, African Dreamer is talking about Mexico. So, uh, yeah, so Mexico is a country, and you're in Tanzania, but I would say that so Mexico has like maybe a half a dozen kind of expat, the biggest expat bubbles. That's typically Cancun, Playa del Carmen, Tulum. That's on the Caribbean side. And then they have San Miguel de Allende. That's kind of the middle of the country. And Lake Chapala, that's another one. And then they also have one on the peninsula. They have the Baja Peninsula, where they have La Paz. And then you have Puerto Vallarta. So there's about a dozen. There's about a dozen of those expat communities, and I would say the biggest ones are probably those ones. There are expats in other parts of Mexico, but the communities are much smaller. And with the city being so big, sometimes people like us, we go unnoticed. Uh, we have a population of a city of 1 million people. You have, for example, 5,000 expats. It's almost like we're invisible. So uh, there are other communities. And also, when it comes to Mexico, there's a population of Afro Mexicans. I thought that was very interesting. You can find this community on the coast, in the state of Guerrero and also Oaxaca. And this is where you can find probably the largest concentration of Afro Mexicans. Uh, it's interesting, because when you see Afro Mexicans, like they don't have the Mexican features; they look like us. Talking about other African Americans. So I thought that was very interesting, and yeah, there's a few nice places in that area, so definitely, definitely worth checking out. So also, uh, a lot of people, may ask, well, how do I take that step in the right direction? And uh, well, first of all, some people don't want to learn a new language. For example, the great couple I interviewed, African Dreaming, they live in Tanzania, and where the language there is Swahili. But also the language, they also speak English. So there's kind of a bilingual kind of society there, which is helpful. But some people want that. They want to have that option, but you have that's something you have to kind of draft a plan of kind of if you're thinking about living in another country, what is your criteria? What do you want? And if you don't want to speak another language, well, for example, in Central America, there is Belize. Belize speaks English. Many places speak English. They have two official languages, which is English and Spanish. So Belize is attractive to many people because they don't want to learn Spanish. In Mexico, there are some expat communities like Lake Chapala and San Miguel de Allende, where people speak no Spanish, besides, or they may say hola, but that's the totality of their Spanish. But there's places like that. There's places like that. TD says people in Veracruz, Mexico, have African roots. Yes, there are some there. Uh, yeah. African Mexican community in Guerrero Coast is still standing. I guess they mean that it's still prominent. Maybe it's still prominent. But most of them migrate north looking for opportunities. TD is actually right. Unfortunately, Afro Mexicans deal with a lot of poverty because so there are a few nice areas, in the Guerrero and Oaxaca area, but there are most of those areas, unfortunately, there are not a lot of jobs there. There's infrastructural problems. There's lack of development. So TD is right. TD is right. Many of them move north to states like Veracruz. It's very true. It's very true. So so first you have to decide your criteria. You have to decide what your criteria is, so language is one thing. Okay, weather is another thing. Okay, availability of healthcare or in the selection of healthcare, that's another thing, right? Your options. Food is another thing. Whether you want to live in a city or town, that's another thing. So these are types of questions that you have to ask yourself. For example, if you have a strong family connection, do you want to be far away from the U.S. or do you want to be somewhere closer? That's another important question to ask yourself. Like for me, my parents are old, and their health is okay. It's not great. It's okay, but I do feel like it might be better to be here for a while. And plus my girlfriend is here too, so there's that. But it might be better to be here for a while. And maybe in the future, unfortunately, when they pass, I can consider living somewhere else. But one great thing about Mexico and many countries, also within Central America, is a short flight to the U.S. Very short flight. Typically, wherever you are in the U.S., is no more than 2 to 4 hours. So that's quite convenient, and that's one of the reasons why I think Mexico and also Central America appeals to a lot of people.